Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk to you about Senator Cynthia Loomis from Wyoming, who has been a vocal advocate for greater transparency and accountability at the Federal Reserve, particularly regarding its monetary policy decisions and financial operations. Her recent call for transparency likely stems from several key concerns. One, the concerns over monetary policy and inflation. The Federal Reserve's aggressive monetary policies, i.e. quantitative easing and interest rate hikes, have major impacts on inflation, employment, and economic stability. Some lawmakers, including Lummis, argue that the Federal Reserve decisions lack significant oversight, leading to unintended consequences like prolonged inflation or financial instability. She also pushes for a sound dollar and Bitcoin advocacy. Lummis is a strong supporter of Bitcoin and hard money policies, often criticizing the Federal Reserve's role in currency devaluation through excessive money printing. She has called for clearer rules on how the Fed manages the dollar's stability, possibly even exploring alternatives like Bitcoin as a reserve asset. Lummis and others want more transparency on how the Fed manages its assets, treasury bonds, mortgage-backed securities, and potential losses. She also debates that the Federal Reserve is designed to be independent. Some lawmakers worry about political influence in its decisions, delaying rates hikes before election. Lummis may be pushing for stricter auditing or congressional oversight, similar to past efforts like Audit the Fed by Jerome Powell. Lummis is skeptical of a central bank digital currency, fearing government overreach and financial privacy. She may be demanding transparency to ensure the Fed doesn't overstep in digital currency development. Lummis believes Operation Choke Point 2.0 is a major drag on open finance. Fed pressure on banks throttles crypto innovation and sidelines smaller players, consolidating power in a handful of institutions. The lack of public reporting and regulation by enforcement only deepens mistrust as ordinary Americans lose access to new financial rails. Will this speech spur the decentralization of the American government? Thank you for watching. Peace.
Madam President,
Senator from Wyoming.
I want to echo the remarks that were just made by my colleague from Ohio and add a couple things. Not only do we as a Senate have the opportunity to prevent a nominee from being confirmed into office by our own vote and our own scrutiny and our own vetting of nominees, but we have the opportunity in this case to turn an agency that was created for independence that has now become independently disassociated with the very people it's designed to help govern and help rein them in with a Senate-confirmed Inspector General. Now, we have proposed other ideas that have not been accepted yet, but that should be considered if my colleagues on the other side of the aisle won't accept this one. One of the reasons I like the senator from Florida's idea here is because it is such a strategic, narrow way to try to get some independent eyes at the Fed. Other ways that I had considered and that we could still consider if this idea is unacceptable is to make the Fed subject to FOIA. We could confirm all 12 of the regional presidents of the Federal Reserve banks, so we have a say in who they are, and any number of other provisions that give the people of this country some oversight over that entity, the Federal Reserve, that has become so independent that it thumbs its nose at working for and with the American people. Look what happened in the way banks were supervised in the last 4 years. Choke Point 2.0 brought about a government-caused failure of 2 banks. Those banks were not insolvent. The Federal Reserve and the FDIC pushed them into insolvency because they didn't like their customers. That was it. They didn't like it that banks were providing banking services to digital asset companies, to Melania Trump, to the children of the now president. They targeted those people. They debanked those people. Government did that by threatening the financial institutions that had them as customers, saying that the safety and soundness of the institution was going to be subject to scrutiny if they continued to bank digital assets, businesses, the Trump family, and others. That was government targeting Americans. That was our government turned against our people for no good reason. And there's no way to get scrutiny of the Fed because they don't have an independent IG. They're not subject to the Freedom of Information Act. We don't have sufficient oversight of them. We've got to get oversight over the Fed. And I want to applaud my colleague from Florida for taking the initial step that every other agency is subject to, an independent inspector general. So I urge my colleagues on the other side of the aisle who are objecting to this measured common sense matter, for heaven's sakes, come up with a solution, because the Fed is an unaccountable, run-amok place that is not responsive to the American people. Madam President, I yield back.